Take a deep breath. Let it fill your lungs completely. Hold it for a moment. Now release it slowly through your mouth. Feel your shoulders drop. Feel the tension leaving your body like water flowing downstream. You are safe here, in this moment. There is nothing you need to do. Nowhere you need to be. No problem that requires your attention right now. This is your time, your space, your moment of peace. Close your eyes if you have not already. Let the weight of your body sink into whatever surface supports you. Feel the pillow cradling your head. Feel the blanket covering you like a gentle embrace. Now, let your mind travel with me. We are going to a small town, the kind of place where time moves differently, where the streets are made of old cobblestones that reflect the soft yellow light of vintage street lamps, where the smell of fresh bread drifts from the corner bakery every single morning without fail, where everyone knows everyone, and a simple nod can carry more warmth than 1,000 words. The air here is different too. It is clean, crisp. In the early morning, you can taste the dew on your lips. In the evening, you can smell the jasmine that grows wild along the garden walls. The sound of this town is gentle. Birds singing their morning songs, church bells ringing softly at noon, crickets chirping at night, and beneath it all, the constant whisper of wind through the leaves of ancient trees that line the main square. This is where our story begins. This is where a man named Lucas Ferreira lives. A man who discovered that true peace comes not from having everything, but from trusting that each day brings exactly what is needed. So breathe again. Let this story wash over you like warm water. There is no rush, no urgency, just the steady, calm rhythm of a life unfolding, step by peaceful step. Lucas Ferreira was born on an autumn morning when golden leaves covered the sidewalks like a soft carpet. His mother said that the moment he entered the world, the sun broke through the clouds after 3 days of rain. She always believed it was a sign, a promise of brightness after darkness. His family lived simply. His father, Marco, repaired bicycles in a small workshop attached to their home. The workshop smelled of machine oil and heated metal. It was a good smell, an honest smell, the smell of work being done with care and patience. His mother, Alina, baked cakes to sell to neighbors. Every morning, their small house filled with the scent of vanilla and cinnamon, sometimes chocolate, sometimes lemon. The kitchen windows would fog up from the heat of the oven, and Alina would hum old songs while she worked, songs her grandmother had taught her, songs about harvests and celebrations and the simple joy of being together. The house where Lucas grew up had 3 small bedrooms and a backyard with a lemon tree. The walls were painted a faded blue, the color of the sky just after dawn. It was not fancy, but it was comfortable. It was home. Every evening, the family gathered around a wooden table in the small dining room. A single lamp hung above, casting warm light that made everything feel safe and contained. They would talk about their day, about the bicycles Marco had fixed, about the cakes Alina had sold, about small plans for next month, next season, next year. Never rushing, always trusting that time would unfold as it should. Lucas learned early that life moved slowly in their household, like honey poured from a jar, thick and sweet and steady. There was always time for another cup of coffee, always time to watch the sunset, always time to sit under the lemon tree and listen to the evening sounds. When he turned 12, Lucas started working, not because anyone forced him, but because he wanted to be part of the rhythm. He wanted to feel the satisfaction of contributing. He wanted to learn. He would wake before sunrise. The sky would still be dark, scattered with stars that blinked like tiny promises of coming light. He would dress quietly, careful not to disturb the peaceful silence of the house. Then he would walk 3 blocks to the corner bakery, where Mr. Antonio waited with a white apron already dusted with flour and a tired but genuine smile. "Good morning, Lucas," Mr. Antonio would say in his rough, kind voice every single morning. "Good morning, Mr. Antonio," Lucas would reply, tying his own apron round his waist. The bakery was warm. The brick oven radiated constant, comforting heat. Lucas learned to knead dough, to feel when it was ready. Soft but firm, elastic but not sticky. He learned to wait. Dough needs time to rest, to rise, to breathe. There is no rushing bread. It teaches patience to anyone who works with it. While waiting, Lucas would look through the bakery window. He watched the town wake up, the first cars passing slowly, house lights turning on, one by one, like stars appearing in reverse. The sky shifting from black to navy blue, then to lilac, and finally to that soft orange that announces the day. He loved that moment, that silence that was not empty, but full of possibility, full of the promise that today would unfold gently, that today would bring its own small joys. The years passed like pages turning in a well-loved book. Lucas worked in several places. First, the bakery, then a hardware store, where he learned the name of every screw, every type of nail, every tool that people use to build and repair and create. He worked in a small grocery store too, stacking cans of preserves and helping elderly ladies carry their bags to the door. Each job was simple, but each taught him something valuable. In the bakery, he learned patience. In the hardware store, organization and attention to detail. In the grocery, kindness and the quiet power of a genuine smile. At night, after work, Lucas would sit in the backyard under the lemon tree. The citrus scent of the leaves filled the air, mixing with the smell of evening and earth. He would listen to the crickets singing their eternal song, the distant sound of a dog barking, the soft wind moving through leaves with a constant whisper. He would breathe deeply, close his eyes, and feel completely at peace. He was building something, not quickly, not dramatically, but steadily, a foundation of skills, a collection of lessons, a life of purpose. Lucas was 23 years old when the idea arrived. It did not crash into his life like lightning. It arrived quietly, like a leaf settling on still water. It was a winter night. He was lying in his small bedroom on his narrow bed, looking at the wooden ceiling. Light from a street lamp outside filtered through his window, creating soft patterns on the wall that shifted slightly when branches moved in the wind. Outside, he could hear rain, steady drops hitting the tin roof, a hypnotic rhythm, calming, endless. He was thinking about his life, about the years working in different places, about how he always did his work with care, with attention, with love, even when no one was watching, about how he took pride in small things, a perfectly arranged shelf, a customer who left smiling, a loaf of bread baked to golden perfection, and then, like a breeze entering through a barely open window, the thought came, what if I had my own place? A space where I could create something that brings peace to others the way these small moments bring peace to me. It was not an explosive thought, not a dramatic epiphany. It was gentle, natural, as if it had always been there, waiting patiently for the right moment to be noticed. Lucas turned on his side in bed. He pulled the blanket up to his chin, and he smiled into the darkness, not because he had a plan, but because the idea itself felt right. It felt like coming home. In the months that followed, he began preparing, not frantically, but thoughtfully. He would sit at the wooden table in the evenings, a notebook open in front of him. He would write down ideas. What kind of place did he want to create? What feeling did he want people to have when they entered? He wrote, peace, calm, safety. A place that feels like a deep breath. He also began observing more carefully. He walked through town with new eyes. He noticed what made people pause and smile. He noticed the small shops that people returned to again and again, not because they were the cheapest, but because they felt right, because they felt like home. One afternoon, while walking down the street he had known since childhood, Lucas saw a small building. It was old, with exposed brick walls and a weathered wooden door. The windows were dusty, but they still let in the golden light of late afternoon sun. Something about it called to him. He stopped. He stared. He felt something in his chest. Not anxiety, not fear, just a quiet certainty. This was the place. He went inside to speak with the owner, an elderly man named Mr. Joaquin, who smelled of pipe tobacco and had kind eyes that crinkled at the corners when he smiled. They sat in wicker chairs, drinking coffee from small porcelain cups. Mr. Joaquin had owned the building for 40 years. He had run a bookshop there once, long ago. Now he was ready for someone else to bring life back to the space. They talked for hours, not about money, but about vision. About what Lucas wanted to create, about the importance of places that make people feel safe. Mr. Joaquin nodded throughout, smoke from his pipe rising in slow spirals. At the end of the conversation, Mr. Joaquin stood and extended his hand. The place is yours, young man. I trust you will care for it well. Lucas took the offered hand, shook it firmly, and felt a wave of gratitude wash through him. Not for the transaction, but for the trust, for the blessing, for the opportunity to create something meaningful. That night, Lucas sat under the lemon tree in his backyard. He held the key to the building in his hand. It was old, heavy, solid. He turned it over and over, feeling its weight, feeling the responsibility it represented, feeling the joy. He looked up at the stars, breathed in the night air, and whispered, "Thank you." Lucas named his place Aurora, not because it was grand, but because it reminded him of the dawns at the bakery, that moment when darkness gives way to light, slowly, gently, inevitably. He spent weeks preparing the space, not rushing, not forcing, just moving through each task with care and attention. He cleaned every surface, wiping away years of dust. He washed the windows until they sparkled, letting light pour in. He sanded the wooden shelves until they were smooth as silk under his fingertips. He painted the walls a soft cream color that seemed to hold the light and reflect it back gently. Each evening, he would stand in the doorway and look at what he had accomplished that day, not judging, not criticizing, just observing, appreciating. The space was becoming something beautiful, something peaceful, something that felt like a deep breath, made physical. He filled the shelves slowly, thoughtfully. He visited local artisans, a woman who made candles from beeswax and lavender, a man who carved wooden bowls that fit perfectly in your hands, a grandmother who knitted blankets so soft they felt like clouds, a young couple who grew herbs and made teas that smelled like summer mornings. Each item Lucas chose had a quality he could feel. It was not about the price, it was about the care, the attention, the love that had gone into creating it. He wanted Aurora to be filled with things that carried peace in their very making. He also created rituals for the space. Every morning, he would arrive early. Before opening, he would brew a pot of tea. usually chamomile or lavender. The scent would fill the shop, welcoming. He would open the windows slightly, letting fresh air circulate. He would turn on soft music, guitar instrumentals, piano melodies, nature sounds, just loud enough to notice, but quiet enough to ignore. The opening was simple. Lucas did not announce it. He simply unlocked the door one Monday morning and placed a small wooden sign in the window. Open, welcome. The first person to enter was Mrs. Maria from down the street. She paused in the doorway, breathing in. "Oh," she said softly, "this feels lovely." She walked slowly through the shop, touching things gently. A wool blanket, a beeswax candle, a ceramic mug. She did not buy anything that first day. She simply stayed for 20 minutes, sitting in the chair Lucas had placed near the window. "I needed this," she said when she finally stood to leave. "Thank you for creating it." Lucas smiled. That was exactly what he had hoped for. Aurora was not just a shop. It was a sanctuary, a pause, a breath. Over the following weeks, more people discovered Aurora. They came not because they needed something specific, but because the space itself called to them, because stepping inside felt like coming home after a long journey, because for a few minutes they could set down their burdens and simply be. Lucas never rushed anyone, never pressured. If someone wanted to sit for an hour without buying anything, that was perfect. If someone wanted to smell every candle, test every tea, touch every blanket, that was beautiful. Aurora was not about transactions. It was about connection, about peace, about creating small moments of tranquility in a busy world. Each evening, after closing, Lucas would follow his ritual. He would tidy the shelves, but not obsessively, just enough to restore order. He would water the small plants he kept on the windowsills, succulents that needed little care but gave so much calm with their simple presence. Then he would sit, sometimes in the chair by the window, sometimes in the old leather armchair in the back room. He would open his blue notebook, not to count anything, but to record the moments of peace from the day. The customer who smiled when they smelled a lavender candle, the child who touched a wooden bowl with such wonder, the elderly man who sat by the window for 30 minutes, just watching the street, breathing slowly. These were the true measures of success. Not numbers, but moments. Not transactions, but connections. Not profit, but peace shared and multiplied. Lucas would write these moments down, one by one, creating a record not of what was sold, but of what was given, what was received, what was exchanged in the space between people when they meet in a place of safety. When his notebook was filled for the day, he would close it, stand, stretch, look around Aurora one more time, and feel that deep satisfaction, that sense of rightness, that knowledge that he was exactly where he was meant to be, doing exactly what he was meant to do. The seasons passed through Aurora like gentle waves. Each brought its own rhythm, its own beauty, its own lessons in peace. Spring arrived with light that seemed softer somehow. Lucas would open the windows wide, letting in air that smelled of rain and new growth. He would place fresh flowers in simple vases around the shop, wildflowers from the fields outside town. Nothing fancy, just stems of color and life. Customers would come in, shaking rain from their coats, laughing. They would gravitate toward the window seats, watching spring storms roll through while sipping tea Lucas offered freely. The sound of rain on the roof became a soundtrack, a rhythm that invited everyone to slow down, to pause, to breathe. Summer brought warmth and long afternoons. Lucas would sometimes close Aurora for an hour in the middle of the day. He would walk to the town square, sit under the old oak tree, eat a simple lunch she had packed that morning: bread and cheese, an apple, water. He would watch children playing in the fountain, listen to the leaves rustling overhead, feel the sun on his face. When he returned to Aurora, he always felt renewed, ready to welcome whoever came through the door, ready to offer that same peace he had just experienced. Autumn was Lucas's favorite season. The light turned golden, the air turned crisp. He would place blankets on the chairs so customers could wrap themselves while they browsed. He would brew spiced teas, cinnamon and clove, apple and ginger. The shop would smell like comfort itself. People would linger longer in autumn. Something about the season invited reflection, invited slowing down. Lucas would often find customers standing by the window, holding a mug of tea, just watching leaves fall, not thinking about anything in particular, just being present, just breathing. Winter brought its own kind of peace, the coldest, quietest peace of all. Snow would sometimes fall, muffling all sound. The world outside would turn white and still. Inside Aurora, the warmth was even more pronounced, the soft lights even more welcoming, the sense of sanctuary even stronger. During one particularly snowy winter, fewer people ventured out. The streets were often empty, but Lucas did not worry. He used the quiet time. He deep cleaned every corner of Aurora. He reorganized shelves. He discovered a wall that needed a fresh coat of paint and spent 3 peaceful days applying it. The rhythm of the brush strokes almost meditative. He fixed a shelf that had been slightly loose. He replaced candles that had burned low. He rotated his inventory, making space for new artisans he had met. A young woman who made pottery, an older man who pressed flowers and created delicate bookmarks. The quiet of that winter became sacred. Lucas would sit for hours in the leather armchair, reading, thinking, planning not from a place of anxiety, but from a place of dreaming. What new ways could Aurora bring peace? What other small joys could be offered? When spring returned and customers came back, Aurora felt renewed, fresh, ready, and the customers noticed. The energy feels different, Mrs. Maria said, even more peaceful somehow. Lucas smiled. He knew the secret. Peace is not created by avoiding difficulty. It is created by moving through challenges with intention, with care, with the knowledge that everything is temporary and everything can be renewed. There was also the day a man approached Lucas about expanding. He represented a group that wanted to help Lucas open several Aurora locations across the region. Imagine, the man said, his eyes bright with excitement. Aurora in every town, your vision spreading everywhere. Lucas listened politely, thanked the man for his interest, then gently explained that Aurora was not meant to spread. It was meant to be rooted, to be intimate, to be a single space where presence and connection were possible, because everything remained human-scaled, personal, authentic. The man looked confused. But that could mean so much more impact, he said. Lucas smiled. Aurora's impact is not in reaching many people. It is in truly reaching the people who come here. Quality over quantity, depth over breadth, presence over proliferation. The man left, shaking his head, but Lucas felt no regret. He had chosen his path not because it led to expansion, but because it led to integrity, to staying true to the vision, to protecting the peace that Aurora offered. That evening, sitting in his usual spot, Lucas reflected on the choice. He had chosen the artisan over the corporation, the handmade over the mass-produced, the intimate over the expansive, and in doing so, he had chosen peace. He had chosen authenticity. He had chosen what truly mattered. He wrote in his notebook, "Today I chose integrity," and it felt like coming home. Years continued to pass. Lucas's hair grayed at the temples. Lines formed around his eyes. Good lines, lines earned from smiling, from squinting in sunlight, from years of contentment. Aurora remained constant, a steady heartbeat in the town. People knew they could always come here, always find peace, always take a breath. It became part of the town's rhythm, as reliable as the church bells, as comforting as the smell of bread from the bakery. Lucas's days took on the quality of meditation. Each task became a practice. Making tea was not just making tea. It was choosing the herbs, heating the water to the exact right temperature, pouring slowly, inhaling the steam, offering it to a customer with genuine care. Every small action became infused with presence, with attention, with love. He developed deeper relationships with his artisans. He would visit them in their workshops, watch them work, learn their processes, understand their challenges and joys. These visits became some of his favorite moments. Sitting in a potter's studio, watching hands shape clay on a wheel, standing in a candle maker's kitchen, learning how different waxes hold different scents. He began writing small cards to accompany certain items, not sales pitches, but stories. This blanket was made by Maria, who learned to knit from her grandmother. She works in the early morning hours when the house is quiet. She says each stitch is a meditation. Customers loved these cards. They felt connected not just to the item, but to the person who made it, to the care and time invested, to the humanity behind the object. Lucas also created small rituals for customers. On particularly cold days, he would offer free cups of soup, simple vegetable soup he made at home. On hot summer afternoons, cold water infused with cucumber and mint. During spring, he would place a vase of wildflowers near the door with a sign, "Take one, share beauty." These gestures cost almost nothing, but they meant everything. They transformed Aurora from a shop into a community space, a place of generosity, a place where giving and receiving flowed naturally, without transaction or expectation. One evening, Lucas was alone in Aurora after closing. He had just finished his evening ritual. The shop was tidy, the plants were watered. His notebook was updated with the day's moments of peace. He sat in the leather armchair, turned off all the lights except one small lamp that cast a warm golden glow. Outside, the town was settling into its evening rhythm, street lamps flickering on, windows glowing with family dinners, the distant sound of laughter from the square. Lucas sat in the silence, not thinking about anything specific, just being, just breathing, just feeling the accumulated peace of thousands of days lived with intention, with care, with presence. He thought about the boy who needed bread before sunrise, the young man who walked through town observing what made people happy, the man who chose a small building and filled it with handmade beauty. All these versions of himself, layered like rings in a tree trunk, each year adding depth, adding wisdom, adding peace. He realized something profound. He had not built Aurora. Aurora had built him. Each day spent creating peace for others had created peace within himself. Each customer served with care had deepened his own capacity for care. Each choice made from integrity had strengthened his own sense of self. This was the secret he had learned. You cannot give what you do not have, but in giving what you do have, you find you have even more. Peace multiplies when shared. Joy expands when offered. Love grows when expressed. his eyes filled with tears, not of sadness, but of overwhelming gratitude for this life, for this work, for this simple, beautiful, peaceful existence, for every person who had walked through Aurora's door, for every artisan who had trusted him with their work, for every moment of connection, every breath of peace. He whispered into the quiet shop, "Thank you, thank you, thank you." The words hung in the air like a blessing, like a prayer, like a promise to continue honoring this path, to continue creating space for peace, to continue being a keeper of calm in a busy world. He sat for a long while, just breathing, just being, just feeling the rightness of everything. When he finally stood, turned off the lamp, and locked the door behind him, he carried that peace with him. It glowed from within, a steady, unshakable light. Lucas walked home through the quiet streets. His footsteps echoed softly on the cobblestones. The night air was cool and fresh. Above, stars scattered across the dark sky like seeds of light. He reached his small house, a house he had lived in for years now, a house that had become an extension of Aurora, simple, peaceful, filled with carefully chosen things, a comfortable chair by the window, a wooden table he had bought from one of his artisans, plants on the windowsills, books on the shelves, everything arranged not for show but for living. He removed his shoes at the door, felt the cool wooden floor beneath his feet. This moment of transition, from outside to inside, from day to evening, from doing to being. He walked to the kitchen, lit the kettle. While waiting for water to heat, he opened the window above the sink. Night air drifted in, carrying the scent of the lemon tree in his backyard. That tree he had planted years ago. It had grown steadily, producing fruit each season, a reminder that patient care yields abundance. The kettle whistled softly. Lucas poured water over chamomile and lavender in his favorite mug, a simple ceramic mug, slightly imperfect, made by the potter whose work filled Aurora's shelves. He wrapped his hands around it, feeling the warmth seep into his palms. He carried the tea to his bedroom. The room was simple, a comfortable bed with soft linens, a small table beside it holding a lamp and his current book, a window overlooking the backyard. Nothing excessive, nothing unnecessary, just what brought peace and rest. He placed the mug on the bedside table, opened the window a few inches. The night sounds drifted in, crickets singing, a gentle breeze moving through the lemon tree leaves, the distant sound of wind chimes from a neighbor's garden. Lucas changed into soft pajamas, fabric worn smooth from years of washing, comfortable, familiar. He sat on the edge of his bed and drank his tea slowly, deliberately, tasting the subtle floral notes, feeling the warmth spread through his chest, feeling his body begin to relax, to release, to prepare for rest. He thought about the day, not anxiously reviewing, but gently remembering. The customer who stayed for an hour, just sitting by the window. The child who touched every wooden bowl with such careful wonder. The elderly couple who bought matching blankets and held hands while Lucas wrapped them. These moments, these small, beautiful moments, this was the treasure. This was the abundance. Not money in a register, but joy shared, peace offered, connection made, love expressed through simple presence. He finished his tea, set the empty mug aside, lay back against his pillows, pulled the soft blanket up to his chest. Not too heavy, not too light, just right. He looked at the ceiling, but his mind was quiet. There were no worries circling, no anxieties demanding attention. No regrets pulling him into the past. No fears pushing him into the future. Just the present moment. Just his breath. Just the feeling of his body supported by the bed. Just peace. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath, held it, released it slowly. His body sank deeper into the mattress. His shoulders dropped away from his ears. His jaw unclenched. His hands relaxed, fingers uncurling. His legs grew heavy. His feet released their grip. He felt himself settling, like sediment in water that has finally stopped moving. Everything finding its natural place. Everything coming to rest. He breathed again, slow and steady. His mind began to drift, not thinking, just floating. Images appeared and dissolved. The golden light of aurora, the steam rising from a cup of tea, the soft texture of a wool blanket, the sound of rain on windows, the smell of lavender and beeswax. Everything blended together, a gentle stream of sensation and memory. Nothing jarring, nothing demanding, just a soft flow carrying him towards sleep. His breathing slowed even more, deepened, became almost imperceptible. The boundary between waking and sleeping grew thin, permeable. He drifted across it without noticing, without resistance. And then he was asleep, deeply, peacefully, completely. The kind of sleep that heals, that restores, that renews. The sleep of someone who has lived well, who has nothing to prove, who has found their place, who has discovered that peace is not something you chase. It is something you create, something you become, something you are. Outside, the night continued. Stars wheeled slowly across the sky. Wind moved through trees. Crickets sang their ancient song. The lemon tree stood quiet and strong in the backyard, its branches reaching toward the sky. Inside, Lucas slept, his breathing slow and even, his face peaceful, his body completely relaxed, dreaming or not dreaming. It did not matter. He was at rest. He was at peace. He was home, and you can rest like this too. You can feel this peace. You can let everything go. Let your thoughts drift away like leaves on a stream. Let your body sink into complete relaxation. Let sleep come naturally, gently, like a friend you have been waiting for. Breathe slowly. Feel the support beneath you. Feel the softness around you. Feel the peace within you. You are safe. You are cared for. You are exactly where you need to be. Tomorrow will come in its own time. But right now, there is only this. Only breath, only peace, only rest. Let yourself sink into it. Let yourself surrender to it. Let yourself sleep, deeply, peacefully, completely, in total safety, in absolute peace, in perfect rest.